We're moving into the second half. Thank you for your engagement in the first half. We are going to look at two very practical expressions of engagement and cooperation and partnership. So I think that'll give us something very concrete to think about. I'm particularly interested in the first one from Darren here because as High Sheriff Criminal Justice System is a whole new adventure for me, and I found absolutely fascinating. I spent Saturday morning at a magistrate's training in Buckinghamshire talking about mental health and the impact in the courts, because it's huge, as I'm looking at Jez, you would say, and I was delighted to hear that you're doing the same initiative as in the south of the county, where you're working with mental health practitioners to work with the various police who are out there, because actually you need the expertise, and that's a very, very good partnership where the officer works with a mental health practitioner, so the person who's in distress is not necessarily going to go into a cell, but is going to go somewhere where they get help. And we could do more of that, because one of the things, again, I'm not taking your speech, Darren, I hope, but one of the things we could really understand is that the whole court system is going on, and they are very, very fragile people often that get caught up in that. And as a community, both before they get to that point and when they come out of any sort of time in prison, we have some sort of obligation to see them as citizens as well, and to engage business, as Darren's going to talk about, and to work very responsibly around support. And one of the other things I've been impressed about is that there is now a sort of journey for people with drug offences. I keep checking that I've got the right end of the stick here, that actually the courts will get that person who's going through a programme to come back and account for themselves. So they're not just sent away to cope on their own. And I think there's so much potential for us to come together as a community and really understand the impacts and the outcomes and what we could do to work with the police and understand what they're dealing with day in, day out. So I learned a lot in that short time, and I think there's so much there. So I'm really, really looking forward to your talk. I have to press this button and do it right once, because that would be really impressive of me. This is the man from Timpson's who works on developing partnerships and employment opportunities for offenders and also people with other disadvantage. But I might need rescuing because your slides might have collapsed. Very sad.
There's not much of a PowerPoint. I think it's just a holding slide. So
let's try again. No?
Not to worry, it's fine.
No. Right. The man will speak for himself. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Darren Burns. I'm the head of recruitment for the Timpson Group. The first thing I'd like to say is how shocked I am that somebody basically foresaw that MK Dons will be playing championship football. It's never going to happen, even in 20 years' time, but good prediction anyway, Roger. For those of you who aren't familiar with Timpson, I'll give you some background about our company. It's a family-run company which started in 1865 in Oldham Street in Manchester. It was founded by William Timpson, who's the current chairman, John Timpson's great-great-grandfather. All those years ago, we used to manufacture and sell shoes, but I'm pleased to say we've diversified considerably. We now do shoe repairs, key cutting, watch repairs, engraving, mobile phone repairs, and dry cleaning, to name but a few. And it's because of that constant involvement in turning around our business, we've enabled it to grow and maintain a presence on the high street. There's been a number of important acquisitions for our business over the years. Perhaps most importantly was in 2008 when we acquired Max Spielman. They're our photo processing arm of the business. They do photo processing, digital photo gifts, mugs, mouse mats, portraits, etc. In addition to that, we've just gone into Tesco. We've acquired TescoPhoto.com. So if any of you shop in Tesco, you'll see all the Tesco photo merchandise is now owned by Timpson and Max Spielman. We've also got a thriving business of mobile locksmiths in the UK, the largest in the UK, as well as a pub, a restaurant and a corporate event management company. People are often surprised because they see our small high street outlets on the street and they think we're a small bunch of cobblers, but in fact we're not. We're quite a big and diverse business. We've got over 1,450 branches across the UK, and we're looking to expand with a further 200 branches over the next couple of years. The reason I'm here to talk to you today is about the Timpson Foundation. The Timpson Foundation was founded in 2002 by our CEO, James Timpson. I think it's fair to say that prior to 2002, James's opinion of prisoners was that they were probably all heavily tattooed thugs who couldn't string a sentence together. Obviously, he was completely wrong, and that was identified during a prison visit to HMP Thorncross in Cheshire. James went into the prison with a number of local other business leaders and was introduced to a young guy called Matt. Matt was very intelligent, very articulate. James liked him immediately and thought what a great guy he'd be to work in our business. James gave him a business card. He probably shouldn't have done that. He probably broke some sort of prison rule, but he gave him a business card anyway and advised Matt to call him when he gets released. Matt was good to his word, as was James, and we're very pleased to say that Matt is still with us today and is one of our more successful branch managers. And coincidentally enough, the branch that Matt works in is probably a couple of miles away from the prison that he was locked away in for 4 years. From this point on, when we employed Matt, James realised that the prisons have got a huge pool of untapped talent in them, and it's a shame to throw these people on the scrap heap of society, and that we could turn this to our advantage. So we then began to proactively recruit ex-offenders from prisons. It's not just prisoners we work with people who've been sentenced to community sentences, or maybe haven't been to prison, but have obviously got a criminal record. Currently, about 10% of our workforce are made up of ex-offenders. This equates to about 450 people across the business, so you can see it's something we're very, very serious about, and it's a big part of our culture. In addition to that, we've got 7 prison training academies, whereby Timpsons have gone in and spent considerable amounts of money. If you can imagine a Timpson store or a Max Spielman store being dropped into a local prison, and rather than the guys or the girls, because we work in the female estates as well, doing menial tasks, either sweeping up on the wing, working on the servery, maybe working in the gym, tasks which aren't vocational and which aren't going to provide them with any real opportunities of employment upon release. What we do is we put these guys into our academy, they put Timpson uniform on, a Max Spiel uniform on, and they do a full day's work, still within prison in our training academies. We then teach them all the services and skills that we provide the public. So shoe repairs, watch repairs, engraving. We can't teach them key cutting for obvious reasons. We have tried to get it past security, but it's always a no-no. But we're still working on it. We also employ about 150 people on release on temporary licence, whereby people leave the prison every day and go and do a full day's work in one of our Timpson branches or Max Spielman branches. And again, whilst they're working there, whilst they're still in custody, they're learning the skills needed to integrate them back into society, and it's making them much more employable upon release. When the guys eventually go on to get released, we give them full-time employment, and it works very, very well, and it's a credible stream of recruitment for our business. In addition to the work we do in prisons, we've also got a restaurant in Anglesey, North Wales, called the Oyster Catcher. If any of you haven't been, I recommend you go. The food's fantastic. It's a Huff House. It's a flat-pack German steel and glass building, which we built probably about 5 or 6 years ago now, and it's run as a social enterprise. All the front-of-house staff, so all the waiters and waitresses, are made up of NEETs from the local island of Anglesey, so young people who aren't in employment, education or training. These people have often had very difficult starts in life. Many of them have been in care, many of them have been in trouble with the police, and again have got criminal records. So what we do is we take them in, we give them vocational training, and we teach them to a very, very high standard. What we do then is we either retain them to work in our business. We've also got a pub just round the corner, so we either send them to the pub, keep them in the restaurant, or they go on to work in different places on the island or North Wales, or wherever they want to relocate to. In addition to that, we take on a cohort of 12 academy chefs every year. And again, these are young people from troubled backgrounds, and we teach them to be fully qualified chefs. We've had great success with this. We've had one go on to work with Marco Pierre White, one with Marcus Waring, and more recently Jamie Oliver. And again, it's something we're very, very proud of. We don't make much money from it as a business. It is a social enterprise, but again, it's something we are very proud of. We don't just work with ex-offenders. We work with any marginalised groups who face barriers to employment. More recently, we've been working with ex-military personnel, so people who've been discharged from the army for whatever reason, due to either redundancy, injury, or the time spent, and they want to come out and pursue something different in a civilian world. We also work with the homeless, long-term unemployed and disabled people. The benefits of doing what we do, the main one being it's the right thing to do for society. It's good for society in terms of the money it saves, and obviously we believe it's just the right thing to do anyway by helping people with barriers to employment back into work. The big draw for us is that it helps reduce reoffending, which is obviously good for everyone and good for society. We've calculated that by giving people who leave prison somewhere to live, employment and support through family and friends. We can reduce reoffending by up to 50%, which again is obviously it's good for everyone, because while people are gainfully employed, it means that they're not burgling your house, stealing your car or committing crime in our communities. The other reason we do it is that it's a massive saving to the taxpayer. We've calculated, and it's generally accepted, that for somebody to commit an offence which results in 12 months prison time, it costs the taxpayer about £250,000 when you factor in police costs, court costs, probation costs, and the fact that these people aren't paying into society while they're in custody. So if we can break this offending cycle, engage with these people, get them back into employment, it's got to be the right thing to do. The other reason we do it, and if I'm being honest, probably the main reason we do it, is that it's good for business. It's worth noting that Timpson's aren't a charity. We're a business and we're about making money, making profit, which enables our business to grow and which enables us to provide excellent service to the customers. The colleagues that we take on, the ex-offender colleagues, either from prison or people who've served community sentences, are very, very loyal. Often these people have been turned away from many, many employers, and it's Timpson's who will actually give them the chance. So once we do that, the loyalty we get from them is absolutely fantastic. They also tend to be highly productive, and we also often attract colleagues that normally we couldn't attract into our business. Lots and lots of professional people fall foul of the law, end up in prison, and because they're turned away by other employers, and Timpson will give them that chance, it works out really well for Timpson, and we get great colleagues. Another byproduct, if you like, is that some of these guys turn the sort of criminal tendencies into entrepreneurship. We've taken on lots of people who used to sell drugs in the past. They've got the patter, they've got the communication skills, they're very good with money, and again, they turn out to be excellent salesmen for us, and it works really, really well. An interesting point is that statistically, foundation colleagues, as we call them, or people from prison or people with criminal records, steal less from us than people that we take on from the job centre or who are recommended from friends or family. I commissioned the report through our head of security last year, and it's an absolute minute percentage of people from the foundation who go on to steal from us. And again, I think it's because they're so grateful for being given the opportunity in the first place. They don't like to bite the hand that feeds them. So another good reason we're doing it. Big part of my job is to educate other businesses into the benefits of working with ex-offenders and other marginalised groups. I do consultancy work for other businesses whereby James Timpson, my boss, will send me into a forward-thinking business, and I will sit down with the HR people, often the directors, and I will talk them through the whole process of how you first go into a prison, how you engage with ex-offenders, the terminology, and how it can be good for business. More recently, I went to Halfords. Halfords, fantastic organisation. They were really keen to get in on the act in terms of some sort of foundation similar to ours. But again, they had no experience with ex-offenders. They weren't familiar with the terminology, and they'd certainly never been into a prison. We sat down with them, talked them through the process, and I'm pleased to say Halfords now have 2 cycle repair workshop, one in HMP Onley and one in another prison in the north, the name of which escapes me now, but very, very successful. Lots of other companies on board as well, such as Greggs the Bakers, Marks and Spencer's, John Lewis Partnership, DHL, De Vere Hotels. So lots and lots of these big organisations now are following suit, as they've slowly realised it's the right thing to do for society. James Timpson, who's my boss, also chairs the Employers Forum for Reducing Reoffending. If there are any employees in the room today, I urge you to have a look on the website. It's free to join, and the Employers Forum basically provides opportunities for employers who've got any concerns about working with ex-offenders or marginalised groups to allay your fears, and obviously it's just a sounding board where you can speak to other like-minded businesses and discuss any problems or concerns that you may have. Our recruitment policy for ex-offenders and for everybody else in our business is fantastically simple. I know because I wrote it. We recruit on personality alone. We don't do academic qualifications. We don't put much stock into CVs because they all tend to be cut and pasted anyway with the same usual stuff on it. So what we do is we do really informal interviews. We sit down with our colleagues. We chat through with them. We see if they can engage. We see if they're confident, if they're chatty, if they're happy. And if they are, 9 times out of 10, we'll give them an opportunity to work in our business. When people are in prison, prior to being released, we go and visit them. We don't just turn out on the street with a £47 discharge, which is what happens now. We will meet with them at the gate or prior to being released. We'll provide them with Timpson's uniform or Max Spielman uniform. We'll make sure they've got somewhere to live, because in our experience, there's no point giving somebody employment without first making sure they've got the stability of somewhere to live, because it can go spectacularly wrong really soon. We give them a travel pass. We make sure we know where they're going. We introduce them to the area manager, to the direct line manager. Usually these people are pre-skilled because they've been through our academies, but often they come from prisons that haven't got academies. And what we do is we take them on and we give them a 16-week paid work trial in one of our branches. The 16 weeks for us is an opportunity to try before we buy. So we teach these people all the skills necessary to be a proper fully fledged colleague in our business. And we're very pleased to say that our retention rate is fantastic. It's 80.4%. So it obviously works well and works well for business. There's lots of benefits of working with Timpson. It's a family-run company. We don't call our workforce staff. We refer to them as colleagues. Benefits are that you get your birthday off when you work for Timpson. Nobody works the birthday. We have a network of holiday homes throughout the UK and Europe, which all of our colleagues can access for free. In addition to that, we pay excellent bonus. And if you get married, you get a week off work, £100 in your wages, and use of our company limousine, which is a Bentley. So again, some of these small things which make working for Timpson great. Timpson, effectively, a big business, but with a big social conscience as well. And it works really, really well for us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Darren. That is absolutely fantastic model and very inspiring, and you seem to have covered most things. Is there something more that local communities can do to add value to your already good operation? Because we are a local community, both Buckinghamshire here in the wider sense and also Milton Keynes, with 4 prisons in our county.
Well, I think the first thing I'd recommend you to do is any employees should join the Employees Forum for Reducing Reoffending or arrange a visit to a local prison. Ex-offenders face such a stigma in society. It needs changing, people need educating. Yeah. Often these guys have fallen foul of the law. I don't like to say they've made a mistake, because often they know what they've done. But to me, it doesn't make any sense to throw these people on a scrap heap. There's 10 million people in the UK with a criminal record. These people aren't all bad. 2/3 of the prison population we would never employ for various reasons. But that leaves us with thousands and thousands of decent people who've made a mistake or they've made a bad choice in their lives, who just need more help into employment and enable them to contribute to society again.
Thank you. I felt very important point you made about the respect culture that you've got. You've obviously got a very good internal respect culture, yeah, and valuing your colleagues. And I think that respect you show to offenders who've got potential. And I did a visit to Woodhill recently for restorative justice, and my goodness, were they leaders. They were charismatic, powerful, yeah, guys, but had got into a place that wasn't going to use those skills in a productive way. And it's fantastic to see you giving the people who've got the potential the chance. So thank you very much. And Twitter time, Nick. Thank you very much.
I think you know the drill by now. 90 seconds or so in conversation with partners, with people around you. What other ideas do you have in terms of promoting this sort of agenda and how we can engage more with ex-offenders? You may not know this, but Milton Keynes College is one of only 3 colleges in the UK delivering learning and skills into the prison estate. We work with 28 prisons, and we work with employers like Timpson, with Greggs and others. So we have a very, in Milton Keynes, a sort of source of expertise around this. So off you go, 90 seconds starts now. Maybe we've tweeted out now. Just there's first one, just a little bit more. Tam's in there, looking for a job, clearly, Darren. I thought I'd bring that to your attention. Some of the tweets coming through while the speaker was speaking. Lot of support for what they're doing, a massive amount of support at Timpson's and those other organisations that have been bold enough really to have stepped in and said we're going to engage with this group, who are, let's face it, the most marginalised and furthest away from the labour market, from the jobs market of any group in our society. So real support for that. At MK Com Foundation, we know there is a link between crime and mental health, so what are we doing about it? There's a consensus around the analysis, but what are we doing in an innovative way? Should we be thinking about sentencing policy a bit more, perhaps? At STEMCAM, street triage being discussed at MK20_40. Wouldn't it be great for the whole of MK to support people with mental ill health? I think we'd agree with that. At Jean Winfield, great to have companies such as Timpson changing attitudes to offenders. And then finally, at MK Com Foundation, again, how to reduce reoffending by 50%. It's simple, train and employ ex-offenders. So I think there's a responsibility perhaps to encourage more employers to engage with this agenda and get them taking on ex-offenders. I don't know if there's a retweet from Tams in there, really makes me want to work for Timpson. There's a double bit of lobbying there. Thank you, Lucy. And what have we got here? Proud to be at Clean Sheet UK Employer 2. More business should follow your example. So a lot of support in the room for what Timpson and the organisations like them are doing. Francesca.
And I just want to echo again what Darren said, the job on its own is not enough, because you need the place to live, and you need, therefore, the community, again, to take on that responsibility to work with the employers, because you can't create housing, can you, Darren, all on your own? That is a big thing, and could be a real issue that we come together in the community.
I think that's their next challenge, isn't it,
yeah.
Francesca?
Exactly. We'll take over the housing challenge. That's a very good idea.
Thank you.